in a world where cinema reigns supreme. Join us on an epic journey through the silver screen. Welcome to What's New with Stu, a movie review, with your host Dave Stewart, a video podcast where every frame tells a story. Get ready for insights, laughs, and film debates. From blockbusters to hidden gems, we've got it all covered. Lights, camera, action. It's time for What's New with Stu, a movie review. And now your host, David F. Stewart.
I'm Ray Garrity. You can call me Ray.
P. McVries.
Hank Olson's the name. Walking's my game.
We did the very first long walk years ago to inspire everyday people.
Smile, boys. You're on candid camera.
I'm the last of my kind.
Bird warning. Okay, just keep walking. That's right. Just keep walking. Yeah, that's it, kid. That's it.
Second warning. Third warning.
It takes heavy sack to sign up for this contest.
In the immortal words of Lake Reed Penny Hill, good evening, viewers. Good evening, all. Welcome to another episode of What's New with Stu, a movie review. I'm your host, Dave Stewart. And in this episode, we're going to talk about The Long Walk, the 2025 film, which was just released. And while I was watching the film, the first thing that came to mind was a line from the great songwriter John Lennon, when he wrote the song A Beautiful Boy for his son, in which he wrote, "Life is what happens to you when you're making other plans." And another thought came to me when I was watching the movie. It's not the destination, it's the journey in life that matters. The Long Walk is a 2025 American dystopian survival thriller film directed and produced by Francis Lawrence from a screenplay by J.T. Molnar. It is based on the 1979 novel the same name by Stephen King under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. The film stars Cooper Hoffman, David Johnson, Charlie Plummer, Ben Wang, Judy Greer, and Mark Hamill. I never heard of this book. I've read a lot of Stephen King books. There's been a lot of films that have been translated from his novels. I've never heard of this. I love this film for a lot of reasons. To me, this is one of the best films of 2025.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize the truth of this. This is walk or die.
Warning. You'll walk as long as you can.
Warning.
But sometimes the body won't listen.
In an alternate 20th century, a second American Civil War has devastated the United States, which is now controlled by a totalitarian military regime. 19 years after the war, the regime's leader, a mysterious officer known only as the Major, commences the nation's annual sporting event, the Long Walk, which is intended to inspire patriotism and work ethic among the destitute populace. 50 teenage boys, one from each state, are chosen at random for the Long Walk. The walkers are given water and rations and must walk without stopping for hundreds of miles while armed soldiers escort them and broadcast the event on television. Any walker who falls below 3 miles per hour for too long or stops walking for any reason is given a maximum of 3 warnings before being immediately executed by the soldiers. The walk ends when there's only one survivor left, who receives a large cash prize and can have one wish fulfilled. Despite the lottery system being technically voluntary, the people are so desperate for the lucrative prize that virtually every young man signs up for the walk.
Walk until there's only one of you left. Who's ready to win?
What I loved about this movie was that what King was doing here, and he does so well in a lot of his books, that he makes you think and he makes you can really relate to the characters. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of violence, but it's also got a lot of heart to it. This is not like, some kind of slasher film. It's got a lot of gross scenes. It's not for everybody, but it really made me think. But at times, it is a tough film to watch. Now, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Cooper Hoffman, is in this film, along with David Johnson, and they are the two main characters in the film, along with, incredibly enough, I'll tell you right now, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, is in the movie. He plays the character, the Major. And basically, this film is a very interesting idea, and kind of an allegory for Vietnam, I think, because when King wrote this, it was during the late 60s, I believe, when he wrote this. And he was obviously inspired by the Vietnam War. Because in watching this film, I thought about that a lot. It felt like a march to the death of these people, because basically it's 50 people, a representative for each state, these boys that have to walk no less than 3 miles an hour. And by the way, in the book, it's 4 miles an hour. And when I used to go on the treadmill, believe me, 4 miles an hour is like a light jog. So it would probably have been too tough to film that. They have to maintain a pace of 3 miles an hour. There can only be one winner. Because my first thought in watching this, I've kind of thought about the Hunger Games movies, and I thought about Squid Game, about similar dystopian type of movies about people that are competing for a vast amount of money. And the only thing of the Squid Game, there could be multiple winners. But by the way, Francis Lawrence, who directed The Long Walk, ironically directed both the second and the third Hunger Game films. And you can probably see he's got a lot of experience with movies like this. This film, however, as violent as it is, really makes you think. There's a bond between these 50 boys. Now, some of them are narcissistic, some are selfish. I mean, it's kind of, within the 50, it's kind of the battle of the selfish versus the unselfish, which is kind of like the way life is. They form a bond. They try to help each other. Not all of them, but some of them, especially the David Johnson character, whose name is Pete, and Cooper Hoffman plays a character named Ray. And those two in particular, you realize they both have different reasons of why they're doing this. Some are doing it for the money, and you find out later, I won't give it away, what some of the other reasons were why these boys are marching. It is a very, very interesting film to watch because it's very, very suspenseful, because they cannot stop walking. In fact, at one point in the movie theater, I had to use the restroom. And normally there's always times in a movie that you can walk away and not miss anything. I'm literally running back to my seat from the restroom, and with my cousin, I'm like, what did I miss? What did I miss? Because this is one of those films that you really don't want to take your eyes off the screen. But it's not constant violence either. There's a lot of thought-provoking moments in the film. There's characters that, again, talk about their theories and the way they look at life in general. And that's what I meant getting back to the whole thing about life is the journey, not the destination, because this film kind of reminded me about that. Because the film ultimately, as the characters, I'm not going to lie, obviously they're going to be knocked off. I won't tell you who survives and who doesn't. But as it comes to the end of the film, and a lot of them are going to die, similar to the way the Squid Game show ends, you realize that they're all going through a lot and thinking about their lives in general, about their relationship, whether it's with their family or with each other. I've said this before, most great films will use a subject matter, like Shawshank used a prison, but it's a film about friendship, or The Godfather uses the mob when it's really a movie about family. And this movie does the same thing. It uses a dystopian competition where you have to basically walk and most people are going to die, but it's really about a lot of other things that are going on behind the scenes and within these characters' lives. And you would think, how could a film where they're just walking the whole time be compelling in that sense? But it is. There are a couple of flashback sequences in the movie, but for the most part, you're really with these kids. And like I said, there's some scenes that they're tough to take. I mean, for example, they cannot stop to go to the bathroom. They can't stop walking. So you can stop to go to the bathroom, but you better be quick about it. Otherwise, you get a warning.
Warning! For some, your heart will stop.
Warning!
For others, your brain.
Warning!
And the blood will flow suddenly.
Warning!
By the way, Mark Hamill's character, the Major, kind of over-the-top performance, but I think it's part of the charm. That's kind of what he's supposed to be about. And he's got a kind of a backstory a little bit, you find out later. But, he's like, come on, man, you're doing it for your country. And by the way, why they have to do this, supposedly, because it helps the economy in some way, because there's been a civil unrest or a world war, and this is the way they help the economy, by having this winner of the 50 states. I'm not really sure. By the way, the book probably explains a lot of the backstory and how this helps the economy in the United States. But he's very rah, a little over the top, but he was entertaining.
Like what you see? Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon, so you're guaranteed not to miss any future updates of any podcast I have coming out.
The ending of the film is somewhat satisfying, but it's a little confusing. Now, I've had this debate with other people, my friend Pasquale and other people. We were talking about what happened at the end. Now, by the way, the ending in the book is completely different in the film. So, because my first thought when I didn't quite get the ending of the movie, I didn't really know what happened, because it's not really explained. Okay, it's kind of left up in the air, and this is difficult for me because I don't want to give the ending away, so it's hard to talk about my concerns about the ending without talking about it, so it's a little difficult. But I went to find out about how the book ends, but the book ends so differently that there was no help in the ending of the book to help me figure out what happens at the end. And again, I've come up with a couple of theories that have kind of satisfied me a little bit since I've seen the film, but I can't talk about it because I don't want to give away the ending. I definitely think it's one of the best adaptations of a Stephen King book. There's no doubt about that, because he's had a lot of films that have been terrible that were made from his novels. A lot of Stephen King films are not very good, to be quite honest with you. They're just ridiculous. But this is definitely one of the best. I don't see how anybody can deny that. In fact, I did a lot of research about a lot of the reviews, and they've all been very, very positive. I mean, when you walk out of this film, I think you're going to really say, wow, that was a powerful movie.
There's one winner. And no finish line.
I mentioned before, it's the journey, not the destination. And that's ultimately what this film was about. So maybe it doesn't matter that this film doesn't have a ending that really explains itself or kind of leaves you up in the air. Because ultimately, it's about the journey of what these 50 boys have to go through. And in that sense, maybe the ending doesn't matter. Very powerful film. By the way, the performances are excellent. David Johnson, I think I'm pronouncing that right, maybe it's Johnson. He is excellent in the role of Peter. I would not be surprised if he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He probably won't in what is going to be considered more of I don't want to say a horror movie, but a thriller. A dystopian thriller is the way I would categorize it. Anyway, go see The Long Walk, and in the immortal words of the late great Benny Hill, good night, viewers. Good night, all. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you at the movies.